sunshine. Find a road with the light away. Promise me a sunshine. Find a road with the light away. Promise me a sunshine. Find a road with the light away. Promise me a sunshine. Find a road with the light away. To yesterday. Promise me a sunshine.
The righteous way. All right, let's turn that music down. Let's turn that music down. If you guys can hear me, go ahead and hit a 1 for me. If you guys can hear me clearly, go ahead and hit a 1 and we'll get this party started. Get a 1 real quick for anybody that want to give me a 1. We'll go ahead and get this started. Hopefully you guys can hear me. All right, so brother of a certain age got a 1 down so you guys can hear me. So let's get started. First and foremost, let me give a big shout out to the people in the chat. Let's go. We got Teresa's in the building, brother of a certain age. Got Riz Lyricist in the building. Who else we got here? Got That's Not What We Doing. Got West Bank, What's Going On? And we got Hood Conservative. And we got Dr. Nikki Proctor Walden in the building. Got Nobody Cares Work Harder. I think that's Spot 'em. But speaking of Dr. Nikki, this is why we are here tonight. Big shout out to Chat Lives Matter. So why are we here tonight? We're here tonight because if you guys haven't noticed already, the return of the vest, return of the hard hat. I couldn't find my glasses and I couldn't find my wrench. So anyways, at least I got the hard hat on. But here tonight, it's going to be totally different from most of my live streams. This is a build live stream. So just letting y'all know right now, this is strictly for building. I know that we're used to the fuckery on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but just letting you know now, this is a build live stream. So if you in here for the fuckery, it's not that type of party tonight. I apologize. I will still be going live on 8/20 day. We'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming, but tonight it's strictly for building. Strictly for building here tonight. What's going on, Slander? We got Sexy Toy Lady here in the building. So we're here because of Dr. Nikki Proctor Walden's post that she made a few weeks ago. And it brought a lot of discussion in the sector. A lot of discussion in the sector. And now we are here tonight to discuss that post and discuss the state of the sector. Now, with all that being said, I'll go ahead and introduce not just my guest, but I guess you would say my co-host for tonight, Miss Dr. Nikki Proctor Walden. Dr. Nikki, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am. I can definitely hear you. So it's like I said, guys, we're here tonight to discuss some things in regards to the sector, and this mainly come from Dr. Nikki's post. Now, before we get into it, a lot of y'all probably already read her post, and it was a pretty lengthy post. So some of y'all may have read it and may have read the whole thing without skimming, but maybe some things could have went over y'all's heads, or maybe you just kind of just missed something, or maybe it didn't register enough for you as you was reading it. So what we're going to do first and foremost, we're going to lay out an outline. We're going to lay out an outline for what the post was about and kind of break down some of the topics we will be discussing tonight. So just bear with me, guys. You know, this is just only an outline. It's not going to take too long. And Dr. Nikki, while I'm going through these slides, if you have to stop me to clarify anything, or if there's anything you need to add, or maybe even correct me, don't hesitate to do so. And I think you got a little bit of feedback, Dr. Nikki, just a little bit. I'm not sure if your YouTube is on or.
It is. But it's on a different device, so I can cut it off. Is that better?
Yes, that's much better. That's much better.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
And I am going live remote from my office, so you might hear the refrigerator in the back, or some other things. So hopefully, it won't be too much of a distraction. But thank you for having me. I appreciate you taking your time out on this Saturday and getting appropriately dressed for what may or may not occur today.
I feel that. But yes, it's like I said, guys, we're gonna first go through a quick little outline, and like I said, Dr. Nikki, if you stop me for anything, correct me or add some things to it, you just jump in. So let's get started. Let's get started with the overview of this. Oh, I'm feedback again. Nikki, I can hear myself.
Okay, so I don't know what to do at this point. So I'll mute while you're talking. How about that?
All right, that's fine. All right, so let's go ahead and get through the summary real quick. So hopefully you guys can read this. I do apologize that the font is a little small, but but don't worry, it will be bigger and you guys can read it. So if you guys can follow along, the My 2 Cents in 10 Minutes addresses the issues within the community, once known as the Umar Johnson sector, now called the sector. Dr. Nikki highlights various problematic behaviors such as doxing, slander, exploitation, or personal information, career shaming, and disrespecting boundaries. She emphasized that while individuals have the right to free will, some within the community or sector seem to take pleasure in causing distress to others. The message calls for accountability among content creators, panelists, chatters, and moderators, suggesting that each role holds responsibility for maintaining a positive and respectful community atmosphere. Finally, Dr. Nikki invites intelligent conversation regarding a community name and guidelines, acknowledging their own limited role in the sector. So hopefully you guys can follow along with me so far. So that's just a summary of the quite lengthy community post. So next up, overall, the post addresses issues of online behavior, accountability, and community standards within the sector. The objective is an invitation for discussion. Dr. Nikki concludes the post by inviting intelligent conversation about establishing guidelines for its members. So the highlighted issues of the post was listed as several problematic behaviors observed within the sector. Now, what I'm about to show here, you guys, is some topics that we will be getting into tonight. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and list them real quick. We got doxing, slander, libel, and defamation, exploitation of personal information, career shaming, disrespecting boundaries, lying and trolling, financial support, attitudes towards marriage and family, truth and credibility, lack of credit, and gaslighting and microaggression. So I want you guys to kind of just look at these topics real quick. And I want you guys to let me know in the chat, what is a topic that you're most interested in discussing here? Now, if I could choose one, I am definitely looking forward to talking about the career shaming part, because there is something I do have to say and maybe a little bit clarification when it comes to the career shaming, but that's a topic that I'm very much looking forward to talking about. So let me know in the chat with you guys, what topics are you looking forward to discussing here? But that's not all of the topics, but it's just one part of it. So the other topics is kind of divided up with roles and responsibilities, and the post identified different roles within the sector. So that's for content creators, panelists, chatters, and moderators. And again, I will post this question to the chat. What do you fall under as far as a role in the sector? Now, I would say for me, I'm more of a content creator and chatter. I'm not really on panels that much, and I'm not really much a moderator. And there actually may be a point where a lot of y'all probably fall into all four of these roles. So we'll talk about that as well. So the call to action is this: call for accountability. Dr. Nikki emphasizes that while individuals have the right to free speech, there should be consequences for harmful actions. She urges members to reflect on their behavior and its impact on the sector. And I believe this is the last slide. Okay, guys, so as we're going through these topics, I will have an open panel. Anybody is welcome to come up, but just let you know, guys, this is a build live stream. This is for building tonight. So I'm going to have some rules here. So if you're going to come up on here during the show, you must be respectful. I mean, yeah, you must be respectful. Let's not do the name calling, all that other jazz that we usually do. Let's be respectful. Whether you agree or disagree with somebody, you guys must be respectful. If you're not going to be respectful on my panel tonight, I will kick you off. Oh, the fuck well. No name dropping. No name dropping. So if you're going to come onto this panel, if we're going to talk about certain topics or certain situations, I would appreciate it if you guys would not drop a name on the panel. The reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want any of the discussion to get derailed, and I don't want the topics to be strictly about one person, because at the end of the day, this is about the sector. This isn't about just one person or Joe Blow or Marianne or Jill or Jack or whoever. This is about the sector. So if you're going to come on this panel and we're going to discuss some things, don't bring up nobody's names. I don't want to single anybody out, because what's going to happen is we're just going to stick to that one person. This is supposed to be about the sector. This is about the state of the sector. This is not the state of so-and-so. So hopefully you guys can understand that. Must stay on topic. I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. That falls into no drama. So again, if somebody here is on the panel and you just want to come up there and you want to talk about what this person did to you in the past, or what this person did today, or all that other stuff, guys, I'm not in the mood tonight. I'm not in the mood. Again, this is for building tonight. So no petty drama, none of that bullshit saying, oh, well, you did this to me back in the day, so you get nah. I'm gonna kick your ass off. Oh, the fuck well. Go ahead and whine, bitch, and moan and cry to your fucking mama. I don't give a fuck tonight. Respect the host. Y'all know how I am. Respect the host. And failure to follow will get booted. So we established all that. Dr. Nikki, do you have any concluding thoughts before we officially begin?
No, I think it sounds pretty good. I think you did a really good job of summing up what I wrote, and as you said, my very lengthy post. And I'm ready to delve into this conversation.
All right. So one of the first things I want to talk about is this poll that I put down at the very beginning of the show. And I asked the chat, are you numb to uncomfortable moments in the sector? And we got 42% says yes, 38 has a mixture of both, and 19% says no. Now, these results aren't too surprising, especially with the mixture of both being pretty close to the yeses part, because I think one of the things that a lot of people in the sector do feel is that there is a certain numbness to uncomfortable things, because a lot of us maybe have been used to that type of stuff. So when certain things happen, like the topics we'll discuss tonight, like it's just kind of like, oh, okay, it's just the sector. And I think with certain people who may come off as defending certain actions of others, I don't really see it as that, but I see it as more as just, hey, I'm just numb to the shit. But that's the interpretation I will get from certain people. Dr. Nikki, you got any thoughts on that?
Yes, I do. I think that I agree with what it is that you're saying, but I also like to further it by stating that oftentimes people are afraid or fearful of saying anything because they don't want targets placed on their backs. Again, as someone who knows how it feels to have a target placed on your back, sometimes you do regret standing up for people in certain situations, especially when you end up with egg on your face. So I definitely understand that and agree with it.
All right, I understand. So what I'm about to do, guys, I'm about to go ahead and put another poll down. Oh, you got feedback, Dr. Nikki. I'm about to put another poll down real quick, and I'm going to ask you guys as a follow-up that do you think currently the sector is soft, or quote unquote soft? Because that's something that some people have stated. So I want to get a vibe from you guys if you think that the sector is soft. Let me go ahead and put that poll question down, and we'll get to that. If I could type fast. Give me a second, guys. All right, so I just put that poll up. So go ahead and know, guys, what you think in the poll. And while I'm doing that, I will go ahead and drop the link as me and Dr. Nikki are discussing these topics. And if you are going to come up, like I said, just follow the rules. And also, guys, if you can, I would appreciate if you just only come up to comment or suggest. certain things of the topics that we're talking about. Now, if you have a specific question, we will save those questions for the very end of the show. So if you guys come up, again, just come up for a comment or a suggestion when it comes to these topics. But as far as a Q&A type of thing, let's go ahead and save that for later on in the show. We're trying to keep it structured. So I just went and dropped the, I just went ahead and dropped it. I should be pinned. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with the first topic, Dr. Nikki. So let's get to the doxing thing. Now, this here is a very, very common thing. I mean, if we're talking about the genesis of certain things that's going on in the sector, doxing would be one. And just to give people kind of a good definition of it, is revealing someone's private information like address or phone number online without their consent. So, Dr. Nikki, do you want to expound on the doxing topic?
Yes. So whenever I first came to the sector, again, as an academic, we don't have language for doxing. Like, that was something that was foreign to me. And I quickly learned what it was by being doxed myself. However, what I find to be problematic is this blurred line between if you can find it online and if it's public record, then it makes it okay for you to then share it with people who may not have accessed that information for the same reasons. So I think that that's kind of like where we have like a bone of contention with people and their intentions for, why you're doxing. But clearly it is supposed to be illegal to dox with malicious intent. And I think that some people are really subjective when it comes to what it means to be malicious, which is another reason why, trolling then is also on the list, because some people, like to couch their malicious behavior in, oh, I was just trolling you. So, that's kind of like my 2 cents on the whole idea of doxing. And then when doxing not only exposes the person who's participating in the sector, but also their family members and close friends and things of that nature. So it kind of, begins to take a life on its own, and you don't really know, how all of these other people who are connected to you are going to be negatively impacted. What about you?
Yeah, like as far as doxing go, and before I get to that answer, Dr. Nikki, to chat lives matter, with soft, there has been a topic about how the sector is being soft because people may be calling out certain things that's going on in the sector, and there has been people on certain panels that would say that the sector has gotten soft compared to, you would say, like 2019, 2020, 2021. So that's what I mean by soft. But to get to your point, Dr. Nikki,
hang on just 1 second, if I could politely interrupt. I
go
think
ahead.
that in adding to the idea of soft, I believe it means in your willingness to speak out on a situation, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That's what I think that it was implied when the term soft was being thrown out, like your willingness to act on something.
Right. So so as far as the thing with doxing, I think at times for some people it may become somewhat of a slippery slope, kind of a gray area. Now when it comes to doxing, I'm not a fan of it. That's something I don't condone. But the reason why I say it may be a gray area for some, because I do think for some in the sector, and this is just my observation, I find that sometimes that depending on who it is that got doxed, I think people are not as willing to kind of like say something about it. Now, there has been certain people that people may have been looking for their information, and eventually their information, or quote unquote information, it's not validated, I guess you would say, even though some would say, yeah, it is validated. But some people may look at that as a good thing, that they got doxed, even though that the intention they may say maybe as far as like karma or whatever, but really for me at the same time, I do think that we got to look at it all in one scope. You know, doxing is doxing. And if your intent is malicious, even though you may say it wasn't for malicious intent, I mean, we got to kind of look at it for what it is. You know, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, I mean, anytime someone has been doxxed, I would say, yes, it has been for malicious intent. Now, some people may look at it as for good, depending on who it may be. But again, like, I think that's one of the issues that we may have, is that depending on who it is that got doxxed, you know, like, I think that's kind of where we kind of get it all mixed and jumbled up.
Okay, so because I'm also taking notes. So sometimes when I'm a little quiet and when I'm muted, I am writing some things down just for the purpose of the audience knowing what's going on behind the scenes, and also why I'm not cammed up. I think that you do raise an interesting point. Well, two interesting points. One being this idea of karma, because also in that post, I did say that when you are in mutual combat, then these rules kind of fly out the window because, you know, you're in mutual combat. But it seems like that's not necessarily been the case in the sector. It seems like oftentimes the combat is one way, which means it's not combat, you're just targeted. So I guess just for my own self personally, I think that I may be torn a little bit, especially with the point that you raised about depending upon who it is. So that was something that I wrote down in my notes, because it does depend on who it is. It depends on how popular or well-liked that person is in the sector. It also depends upon what, and I'm talking about people's views on doxing. It also depends upon the dirt that this person may or may have done to others in the sector as well. So when I think about the idea of karma, I do want to kind of put like a concrete definition on that. When I use the term karma, I'm talking about karma in terms of justice or either balance, meaning you did something, then something's got to balance out whatever that act is, you know, etc. So I just wanted to throw those two things out there as I'm listening to you. I thought that those are two very key points to highlight when we're talking about doxing. Again, this idea of karma, and then the idea of depends upon the person who's being doxed.
Mm-hmm. Right. And there was a comment by YM I thought was interesting, and I'm not sure if it was the same thing that you said, Dr. Nikki, or close to it, but just let me know. But she says when the doxer is well liked, people hesitate to publicly say anything, or when the doxer falls out with other people.
Yeah, that's similarly or in the same, you know, line of query that I had as far as the doxer. You know, depends on who's being doxed and who the doxer is. Because if they're doxing someone who's well liked in the sector, then again, people seem to kind of be on board. But if it's doxing someone else who is usually the doxer, then people kind of applaud those efforts as well. So it's like we kind of got to have some sort of a line drawn as far as, you know, are we for it or are we not? And, you know, in all cases, if there's such a thing as an in all cases. Because again, my statement was clear and contingent upon not being in battle with someone else. Because when you're in battle with someone else, it's kind of like anything goes.
Right. So I'm going ahead and go to a new poll here, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys, where the damn poll results at? I think the majority was yes anyway. I was trying to read the whole entire thing. I don't know where the hell that damn. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, so we got 42% says yes, or no, wait a minute, that was the first one. Where the hell's the other poll at? Anyways,
You may not have put the other
majority,
poll out. Maybe that was the second poll. Because remember, the first one was about a numbness to uncomfortable events. And then I think you put, because I can't see it on my end.
Yeah, I can't see it on my end either. But anyways, the majority of you guys, from what I saw, a lot of you guys say no, the sector isn't soft. But that's going to lead me to another poll question. And again, guys, go ahead and let your voice be heard in the polls here, so we can get a better understanding on where the sector stands at. But I'm going to ask you guys about doxing, if you think doxing is a no-go or not in the sector. So is doxing a no-go in the sector? So like as far as the doxing thing and not including mutual combat, Dr. Nikki, if it turns out if people are doing that, what do you think the sector should do about that? I mean, is it more so of a thing of just not going to their shows or unsubscribing or speaking out, or like, so as far as the doxing thing, like, do you have a suggestion as far as how that should be handled?
Well, that's kind of what I wanted the body, which would be the chat, to kind of make suggestions as far as what should be done, because what I didn't want this conversation to be about is, well, LV and Nikki, Dr. Nikki said this is how we should handle it, because then it becomes about us as opposed to the group. So I would like some suggestions in the group as far as what should be done in those situations, if anything. Because there's another nuance in this doxing thing that I'd also like to add to the conversation too. So is it still doxing every time it's done, or is it doxing the first time it's done? So say, for example, we're in a situation and someone says someone's, name, if they're not already online, as their, government name. Is it doxing every time somebody does it, or is it doxing the first time it's done? Meaning someone else said it, and then in another situation, someone else repeats it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like for me, I see it as, I really don't see it as the first time doxing. Look, like if you're doxing, you're doxing. So if you're constantly saying somebody's name just for the sake of saying their name, especially if they don't want it repeated, that's pretty much a repeated offense. My personal opinion. There was a comment from YM saying, "What is doxing?" We still don't have a shared understanding of it. So like from what my understanding of doxing, and it's really about the intent. So if it turns out, if I know your full name, YM, if I know your full name, like if I'm searching it, or even if it turns out if you told me what your full name is behind the scenes, but you don't want me to tell everybody else, you don't want me to tell people where you live at, where you stay at, where you work at, but I go ahead and let the public know anyway, and I have malicious intent because of it, that will be considered doxing, at least to me. Like, it's about the intent of it. Now, there is that excuse that people will say, saying that, well, it's public record. So yes, I can somehow, some way find your full name, YM, on like a public site. I can find that, and I can find that out, and I can post it, and I can say, oh, well, it's public information, because there has been people saying, oh, well, it's public information. But at the same time, it's like, why do you need to share that out? What is your intent for sharing that out? What's the point of me knowing what YM's full name is? What's the point of me knowing where Dr. Nikki works at? What's the point of me knowing what Slander God looks like? Just as examples. Like, so you have to think about the intent of it. And also too, guys, I do have the link pinned. So if you guys have comments or suggestions on these topics, go ahead and hit that link and share your thoughts and opinions on it. The link is pinned. Who else is here? I did see KKC was here. What's going on? I think there's always an exception that proves every rule. There are certain figures in the sector that use anonymity as a sword and a shield. What you think about that one, Dr. Nikki?
Stephanie, could you expound on that a little bit? Because again, I don't want to speak for you.
But like I said, guys, the link is pinned. So are there any other thoughts that you got about doxing, Nikki, before we get to the next topic?
No, that we won't, revisit once we get through some of these. I did see a comment in the chat about, not sharing your business on the internet. I
Oh yeah, I
think
did
that
see
that's
that.
part of what the problem is that sometimes it's not you sharing your business on the internet, it's other people doing it. So, if this conversation is over your head, you might want to come back to LV's show on 820.
um, but like I do think that kind of raised an interesting point about don't put your life on the internet. Now, Dr. Nikki, is there such a thing as not putting yourself in a situation for you to get doxxed? I mean, because there has been other examples, probably like in real world examples about, like Cal saying, oh, well, don't go out at night alone or else you may get robbed. Don't put yourself in that situation. Do you think that rule kind of applies to doxing, or do you think it's more of, it's 100% the person's, oh man, like I don't, I'm trying to think of a better word from what I'm about to say because it may come off wrong, but just in a way of not putting yourself in a situation to be doxxed is what I'm saying.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with people being curious enough to look someone up to say this person is official or this person is not. It's the coming back and spreading the information and using it to as a means of harm. That's problematic. It's problematic to solicit other people to um, to also want to cause harm for no reason. That's part of what's problematic about doxing to begin with. It's the dangerous things that people will do, because regardless of what it is you may do to secure your identity, people are still found out, and people are very creative with databases and things that they may have access to that the average person doesn't have access to still figure out and find out who you are.
Mhm.
So, to say that it's someone's own responsibility to secure their identity, I think is um glib or naive or inappropriate, or doesn't serve this conversation that we're having, because obviously we're
Right.
talking about things that have already occurred.
Mhm. Right. And
So I see that Stephanie responded back. So can you highlight what she says? I'm on mute.
yeah, she said they are using their anonymity to make it for easy to make it easier to attack others, but accept their anonymity to be respected so they stay safe from the safe actions they've done to others. What's your response to that?
No, I agree with that sentiment 100%. And again, I think that if a lot of us could do things all over again, especially those of us who have been doxxed in one way or another, that of course we would probably um, not put certain information out there to where it could be traced back to you. But even then, there's no guarantees that you can't be found. I mean, there are a lot of people that are walking around thinking that they have anonymity, and people do know who you are and where you are.
Mhm. All right. Do you have any last thoughts on the topic of doxing before we get to the next part?
No, let's move on.
All right, so let's get to the next topic. Hold on. All right, so let's get to slander, libel, and defamation. Trying to get this comment off. All right, so slander, libel, and defamation. That's making false statements that harm someone's reputation. This is also an interesting one, something we have seen a lot, you know, in the sector, narratives and all that other stuff. But sometimes the narratives and all that stuff can be harmful. It just depends how harmful. But either way, it's still harmful. So, Dr. Nikki, do you want to expound on that?
Okay, so I think that this one is kind of self-explanatory, and I think that again, based on the examples that that we're not going to name specifically, this time that we've seen instances where people not only, say certain things about people, but they make sure that those things those things go beyond the internet, to where you're sending things to people's places of employment that are clearly, cut and paste jobs, things that aren't true. Um, People in situations to where you only show one side of the conversation, not what prompted, irate or behavior that is not necessarily denotes professionalism off the clock, etc. So, I'm talking about those things that people put in writing and send places, that are not true, or that you continue to keep these stories alive because you want it to be a point of, a source of shame for someone, as they are going on about their business. So, I think that one's a little self-explanatory. And I think that, this whole thing of a mockery of people trying to put legal paperwork in place to prevent these situations from continuing, that everyone else around thinks, that it's a joke, and say, oh, well, it's okay. Well, you just keep doing so on and so forth, and realizing that they think that they have anonymity, which is a great word. Stephanie, thanks for bringing it to the conversation, that these things cannot come back, and that people can't find out who you are. And then you're inciting someone to return those same actions and activities back to you.
Right. Right. Like, and I think that can get mixed in with the trolling and whatnot. And we will talk about the trolling and stuff later on here in the show. But I do think at times some people kind of just don't know when to let their foot off the gas. For some, they don't know what it may be affecting, and with other people, it's just flat out like, hey, let me just go ahead and just make some shit up just to fuck with them. I mean, so yeah, like I definitely see where you're coming from that perspective. So yeah,
Right.
that's
And let me just add this, pardon me cutting you off, like things with, people who are married, or are, situations like that, or you just, why would you want, like, there's a clear difference between roasting someone and then taking something offline. So I think that I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I'm talking about these things that, or my concern, are all of these things that have occurred in an online environment that should have stayed in an online environment. It should have never made it offline to impact someone's ability to work, someone's ability to maintain healthy relationships, someone's ability to, just live their own life outside of this realm of reality. So that's what, I'm more focused on, because I see that there's some comments in the chat already that are, people trying to be funny, and trying to make it seem that it's a real common sense or solution or resolution to these issues. And if it were that way, I think that we would be intelligent enough to not have to have this conversation, because we're having it right now because of where we are right now. So I just wanted to, continue to say that. We can't hear you.
oh my bad, I was muted. But yeah, guys, you know, pretty much like I said, if anybody wanna come up and have their suggestions to this, I mean, like it's not really about me and Dr. Nikki. We want to hear from you guys as well. So just let us know what you think about some of these topics. But until then, we'll go ahead and move right along. Do you have any final words about that topic, Dr. Nikki?
No. I think that was one of the ones that is self-explanatory.
Right. All right. So let's get to the next one. Roam on through. Exploitation of personal information involving people's children or deceased loved ones in arguments or disputes. And hopefully you can't hear my dog. If you can hear my dogs, let me know. Um, but but yeah, but that's also a big thing that's going on with the the wives, the husbands, the children, and all that. Dr. Nikki, you've experienced this yourself. Go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so I'd like to, if you could highlight Prince Stefan's comment. He says, so as long as it remains online, there's no issue for the person. No, that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. And again, part of us trying to open up this dialogue is to find out, if there is, any type of plausible action that we could do as a sector to kind of come together and say, hey, we don't support this type of behavior. No, we don't do this here, so on and so forth. But what I am saying too is this, Stefan, there are also a lot of times where people do things that would warrant somebody's response to be something that may fall in, with one of these things as well. As I said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not talking about in times of mutual combat. I'm talking about when the combat is not mutual, when someone is being targeted for a certain reason or, or other. Or because some people feel like, oh, well, this person hasn't gone through anything in the sector, so let's turn our focus on them and dig up and see what we can do with this person, or let's see how low we can take it with this person, and so on and so forth. And we all know about a lot of the conversations and the lives and the situations that go on offline and behind the scenes. So I'm not really trying to hear someone say, oh, well, well, what are you talking about? These things don't happen. Let's not be in denial about what's happening in the goings on in this space.
That's well said. So the part about the families and stuff being mentioned when it comes to disputes or out of anger, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that again, people who are not a part of the sector, I think should be off limits to others in the sector. Period.
Right. I completely agree with that. If it turns out if you're like in a war with someone with a war of words, or anything like that, or whether it's roasting, just bringing up the kids, bringing up the families. I mean, that's definitely not a good look. Sometimes that can, well, pretty much all the time, really, I'm gonna be real, like all the time, it can be a sign of that you're losing. So you bring up the wife, the husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, the kids, and all that. Now, I do think it's one thing if a family member is part of the sector, then that's a whole different ball game. But if they're not part of the sector like that, I mean, like bring them up. I think that's a sign of that you're losing, to be honest. So, and I had my fair share with people, not a whole lot compared to others, but whenever I try, get into a back and forth, I try my best not to go that personal. So yeah, like I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Think that's pretty
Well, I mean,
self-explanatory.
again, some people do bring their extended family into, sector drama and so on and so forth. And to some, some people might feel that those people are fair game. But if someone asks you to respectfully not do something, I don't understand why we can't respectfully find more clever ways to kind of take digs at one another. Um, I don't understand. And I really don't understand why someone will want their entire existence to be the bane of everybody's lives. I don't understand that behavior.
Hmm. Now, as far as a situation, like what if like someone like brings up their significant other and they're in combat, but the person is bringing up their own wife or husband or kids like that, I guess to kind of like combat with them, but then they come back attacking the family. I mean, is that a would that be considered mutual combat in a way, or what do you think?
I mean, it could be. And again, it's like when we start trying to drill down and be super specific, then we got to start calling out situations and naming people and examples or whatever to kind of make it clear to people. Like I kind of wanted to use what do we call it, umbrella terms to describe something, to just kind of see if we could get some real conversation started and to get some input from other people in the sector about, again, what's going on. Again, clearly there are going to be those people who don't care, who are going to be disinterested, and they're not invested, and so on and so forth. And those things are fine. Again, those people probably don't add much to the sector's growth and, storylines or chat vitality or any of that. And again, cool with all of that. I'm just wanting to know, where do we stand on these things? Again, I think that it's disrespectful to talk about the dead. However, if I'm in mutual combat with somebody, I might go there. But it's with the intent of, I'm trying to hurt you. This is not just commonplace to where it's just acceptable to just go around and say, well, fuck your dead mama. Those are the things that I'm just talking about. Like, like things that just kind of come out of left field just because someone has shared with the sector, hey, I lost someone in my life. I don't think that because somebody says that they've lost someone, that is okay for then someone to turn around and say, well, let's make that a point of contention with that person and kind of dogpile on them when other people are doing the same things. So, again, it is what it is.
I feel you. So let's go ahead and get to the next topic here. But before I do, let me go ahead and do another poll real quick for anybody that wants to participate in the poll. Let's talk about are women in well, I can't just say women because men have to be included too.
Right, and there are a couple of comments that I would like for us to highlight and address into the chat as well, because I don't want us to get too far into the conversation and then some of the comments don't make sense when we go back to them.
All right, so which comment did you want to address? There was a few about Chat Lives Matter. I'm not sure if there's a specific one that you wanted to pick or you wanted me to pick.
You can go ahead and pick.
Oh, okay. So Chat Live Matter said, can we talk about how saying your mother this is not actually attacking someone's mother? Well, like I think it may depend on where you're going, where you said your mother is this. So let's say, like again, like if we're talking about roasting, like like your mother's so fat, like I don't think that's a bad thing per se, depending on where you're going with it. But if we're talking about that, that your mother's dead, it's kind of, I think it kind of hits on totally different things. So,
and I think he's intelligent enough to know that's not what we're talking about.
All right, so we got Chat Lives Matter. Capping roasting is about crossing boundaries. So whatever you label as out of bounds, you actually inadvertently put it in play. I do pretty much see where you're coming from, and I think I kind of said this earlier when it came to the doxing thing. I think it's kind of being self-aware a little bit, even though some may say it may not be your fault. And I'm not saying that it's people's fault per se, but I think it's kind of a matter of just not putting yourself in a situation. And I know that may kind of sound kind of controversial or maybe insensitive in a sense, but it's kind of, it's just kind of a thing where with me personally, I don't really bring up my personal life like that. I don't bring up what was going on with my parents or my family members or anything like that. And seeing as how I've been on the internet for so long, I kind of move a little bit differently because like anything you say, even though you may not realize it, may come back and bite you in the ass. And not saying it can't be somebody's fault if someone attacks your family member, but if somebody says something, hey, look, my loved one's going through something right now, put y'all in your prayers, and y'all put that in the atmosphere, there may be somebody that be looking at that and kind of see that as a trigger. So when it gets brought up, I mean, again, it's kind of not putting yourself in a situation. Again, not saying that it's your fault if it happens, but I think that maybe what JJ's saying. What you think, Dr. Nikki?
I'm not really sure because he thinks that I'm being condescending. Again, I think that there is a clear difference, especially the way he put it in a sentence, that there's a difference between talking about someone's mother directly and then saying that your mother is something is completely different. So I think that we know that.
And JJ also says, so if there is a mutual combat exclusion for everything, what's the point of us establishing boundaries?
Okay, so it's commonplace to know that there are exceptions to every rule or establishment that we put into place for any type of governing body. There's always an exception to a rule. And we're not here to try to police the chat or police the sector. What we're trying to do, again, for the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, maybe ninth time or whatever, is to come up with some things to kind of see where we stand on certain issues and situations. Again, I don't think anybody is going to be blamed for crossing a particular boundary when you're in mutual combat and you're sitting here fighting to protect your neck. So that's basically what I'm saying. So I'm trying to, as I said, have an intelligent conversation, but also be realistic about the space that we're in and the people that we're dealing with. So I'm not really sure how to explain that any other way than that.
We got a comment from Steph. The sector decides who and what they will show up for and tolerate. That dynamic changes depending on who's involved and the support that person has. And that is definitely a point that me and Dr. Nikki did bring up. There is definitely a bias. There is definitely a bias. I mean, if we're gonna be honest, where certain people may like, they may do something like some dirty deeds, and some people may not say anything or kind of just be on the low, but when it's someone that they don't like, it's very quick to make it a story and do a live or do a upload or go on a panel and talk about, oh man, this person did this, that. But then there'll be other people kind of saying, well, wait a minute, this person did this and you didn't say anything. And I think that's kind of where we get kind of lost, where we don't really put in the same energy for everybody. And I think that's the case for everybody. I mean, for whatever reason. I mean, with me, I'm clearly like that. I mean, if we're going to be honest tonight, I'm like that too. I mean, there may be some certain people I like, they may do some fuck shit and I don't say nothing, but if somebody else does something, yeah, I may say something like, damn, that's fucked up. So that was definitely something we talked about earlier, Stefan. I do think that is an issue where we really don't have the same energy for everybody. And I think that's human nature, to be honest. That's human nature. I mean, we kind of tolerate what certain people that we like do and certain people that we don't. We're just like, oh, fuck this shit. I need to call this shit out. Is it safe to say the sector?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, absolutely. Like, that's kind of, like, again, the purpose of kind of talking about this to get people's opinions, but also to hopefully get some feedback that's useful.
Mm-hmm. And Stefan says, is it safe to say the sector thrives on scapegoating as a means to excuse their own behavior? As far as thriving, maybe back then. I won't say now, but that's just me from what I observed. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think thriving scapegoating now is the case. Maybe 2019, 2020, especially. I would definitely say that, but I think we kind of cooled down for that. What do you think, Dr. Nikki, based on your experience here? Or as far as what you observe is what I meant.
I think that Stefan brings up a really good point. But I think that we'll revisit that again when we get to this trolling versus lying. Again, we can't just automatically fall back on something that we really don't necessarily have a group understanding of what this particular term means and say, well, since it's ambiguous, then anything anything that can't be explained or anything that I don't want to be held accountable for, we'll just couch it and throw it up under this catch term.
Mm-hmm. Chat Lives Matter says, has anybody in sector history ever been attacked out the blue? I think if you ask every person that crossed the boundary why they did it, they'll have a mutual combat, 99% at least. So as far as the first question, I don't think no one has been attacked out the blue. Now,
and I disagree.
Oh, you think so?
I know so.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I was thinking as far as like being attacked out the blue. Like I was more thinking that there's no reasoning for it as far as if you ask them. Now, the reason doesn't necessarily have to be like a good one, or maybe they got paid to do it. But when I think of out the blue, like, like if you just, if it turns out if you click my link, Dr. Nikki, and I start calling you names, I mean, like that was the mentality I was thinking. But see if there's
No, I
any more.
disagree. And I think that there are a lot of people who would say that, someone has attacked them out of the blue, or from being somewhere that you feel they shouldn't be, for being a certain position in someone's chat that you feel like they shouldn't be. There are quite a few people who believe that even if you're in someone's chat, that you believe everything that the content creator states. So that's being attacked for no reason.
Mm-hmm. I feel you on that.
I mean, you've heard people say this, haven't you? In the sector, I know I have. You're in that chat, so you believe everything, and you go along with whatever that chat person says, or that particular channel holder believes. You believe what they believe. I think that's not true.
Yeah, I feel you. So we got Muzz. He says everyone has a bias, some more than others. The less you, the better. There is he says everyone has a. Oh, you talking to me?
No, I was reading something in the chat, so I didn't hear what you were saying. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I was pretty much agreeing with Muzz that everyone has a bias, and again, like that's human nature. That's human nature. Like I know there's a lot of people that say that they're neutral and whatnot, and you may be neutral from a broad spectrum, but really as human nature, we all have some type of bias, just some type of bias, if we're being honest. So I do agree with that one there. Do you agree with that, Dr. Nikki, that everyone has a bias to some degree?
Absolutely. And I think that some people can develop biases over a time period of being involved with a certain group of people. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the case. That's definitely the case. And we got Mikey. He says, I like this conversation, but certain people like to bring up my past when I'm at the panel, just like you, Elvie. Yes, Mikey, I do. I am not going to sit here in front. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Again, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Listen, I'm guilty of that. I'm not going to sit here and say, what are you talking about? I do. I do.
Hold on a second. So confused by Rachel makes a point. Could you highlight what he or she just said?
Is this one?
Mm-hmm. No. Confused by Rachel.
Oh, confused by Rachel.
No. The next one. The sector is so small. I think CCs let folks go.
The sector is so small, I think content creators let folks go where they please as long as they aren't talking shit about the content creators they claim to support. That's kind of interesting.
Right, but see, what's problematic about that statement is that the content creators don't own anybody, so they can't let people do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that a content creator actually thinks that I will let you go here and there, I think is part of the issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, that's a very interesting point right there. See if there's any.
I agree because again, that's where a lot of misunderstandings happen, where people think that you shouldn't go certain places because of whatever, and then you get accused of all sorts of things when people kind of go places based on who's live, and sometimes that's the only reason why they're in there. Somebody's live and they want to support.
Yeah, like that's just yeah, like I always kind of found that crazy. Like for me, like I have this channel, I got another channel, people want to go to people to that's not fond of me, or if I'm not fond of them, like I don't really trip about that. It's like for what? So it's kind of like, I mean, I don't own nobody. Just like I don't expect people to get mad at me for going to somebody's chat, especially if they don't like. I'm just gonna look at it like the fuck, like it's the fucking internet. Get the fuck out my face.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. A brother of a certain age raised a good one. So go ahead, read that one.
brother certainly said, and there's a difference between talking shit about somebody or maybe laughing at a joke that somebody told, and certain content creators don't think you should laugh at them. Man, look, listen again. Listen again. It's like, look, listen, from my own experience, I've been roasted here. I've been made fun of. People talk about my eyes and shit like that. And I'll see other people like laughing at the jokes when somebody say something. It's like, look, like I don't be tripping off of that. Like the fuck, like this shit crazy as hell to me. But I mean, but again, there are some people that get offended by that, and I'm just like, listen, like you gotta. I mean, listen, like if it turns out if I'm joking or whatever the case is, you gotta take that on the chin sometimes. Now I will say if it really does bother you, I would say just talk to that person behind the scenes. Don't try to make it public because the optics will get bad and people gonna be like, oh man, you trying to police people. It's like, yeah, so I think that's where kind of things get a little bit muddy there.
Right, but here's the flip side to that. When people do use things that are put in place to kind of protect you from being talked about, or not necessarily talked about, but targeted, or somebody spotlighting you for certain things is put in place, then other people get upset about that. Like, for example, when people are blocked for whatever reason, then that becomes, it has a life of its own. When it's an option, and if it's an option but it's used against you, you feel like, oh, I haven't done anything for you to do this. Well, again, going back to that subjectivity, it's like, if I don't want to see your comments, then I'm going to block you so that you don't even feel tempted to talk to me about your comments that I don't want to see or don't care about your input.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel you. Brother of a certain age says, if something funny, I genuinely will pile on my nonsensical humor, but it's all love. Yeah, I mean, like, it's all love. I mean, like, if it turns out if I'm laughing at something, it's like, listen, like, I'm not laughing to be personal. It's like, look, like if it's something funny that you did, especially online, if I laugh at the shit, don't try to hold that against me. It's like, yeah, like I thought the shit was fucking funny. Like the fuck, like,
Like, could you highlight Chat Lives Matter, since he just begs for my attention so much? Because he's someone that I have blocked. So, Chat Lives Matter. I have blocked you because I loathe every keystroke that you put together to form a thought. Okay.
mm, mm, mm.
Okay, so hopefully that satisfies his, cravings or what have you. So, moving right along. But that's another reason, though, that sometimes people block other people. Like, if I don't, like, for myself, if I don't care for somebody's sense of humor and the jokes and the roast that they make, I find offensive, then I will block them. So I don't even have to see those things. Therefore, I'm not triggered by some of the things that they say. However, that then becomes a conversation about, well, then why do you have me blocked? Because I have the right to do so. If that's a protective measure, then that's me establishing a boundary. So it's like, again, we're just trying to see and kind of get a feel of where people are and what they think on some of these things that have happened that are egregious. And I'm definitely talking about a lot of the extreme cases of some of the things that we have listed here. So, at any rate.
Mm. All right, so let's go ahead and get
Chat
to
Lives
the
Matter. I didn't even see you're solid as a rock. I didn't even see it. That's how important you are. I didn't even see it, darling.
all right, so let's get to career shaming, criticizing licensed or credentialed professionals for their careers. Now I mentioned earlier, this is a topic I really want to talk about, Dr. Nikki. Now before we go any further, Dr. Nikki, I do want to I do want you to clarify something. Would career shaming involved kind of using people's careers against them as far as how they act online? Would that be career shaming as well, or would that be a totally different thing?
Yeah, absolutely. That all falls up under that. Like telling someone that they're not being professional because they work in a profession. Um, talking about how much somebody makes, in a particular profession. Shaming them for, anything dealing with, their real walk in life, as far as who they are.
Mhm. So like, so so when it comes to the career shaming aspect of when certain people come on to YouTube and they may act a certain way and kind of say, oh, well, you're supposed to be a doctor, a teacher, a therapist, a lawyer, that, they're kind of like using that as a way that they're supposed to live this certain lifestyle. But from my experience with working with professionals, having professionals as my clients, and actually hanging with professionals throughout my life, they're a totally different person when they leave their office. They're a totally different person when they leave the classroom, totally different person when they leave the courtroom. So I pretty much look at YouTube as that same thing. And there's not many careers that translate into you having a lifestyle. I would say when it comes to a career that translate into a lifestyle, I pretty much think of things like a personal trainer. Like for a personal trainer, if I see a personal trainer just eating just the most unhealthiest thing every single day, I may come up to them and say, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be a personal trainer? Because it's a certain lifestyle that you have to live. You get what I'm saying? I would say the same thing with preachers. I would say the same thing with preachers. I think a preacher has to adhere to a certain lifestyle. If I see a preacher out here just cussing and, out here just having sex with a lot of different women, he's married, cheating on their wives, I would look at that as, aren't you supposed to be a preacher? But when I look at certain other people, like in the professionals in our sector with their job titles, I don't really look at that as being translated into a lifestyle. And that's what I always had a problem with, where people kind of use that job title as a thing of, well, aren't you supposed to act like this? You get what I'm saying? Like I just always had an issue with that.
Okay, so YM has something to add.
Is it this one right here?
Uh-huh.
She says, I don't think career shaming deserves its own category. Whatever a person's job is and they get roasted for it, that's the same as roasting somebody's looks, their hobby, family, etc.
Well, I guess my thinking whenever I talked about this, just in isolation, is someone being targeted for those particular reasons, and then saying that because you are online and you're using vulgar language, that then is a reason for them to go and contact your job to say, well, guess what? This person does this during the day, but at night they're using vulgar language. They should not have a job or shouldn't be able to work or shouldn't have a license or shouldn't be this, that, and the third. That's what we're talking about, YM. Again, this is not, we're not talking about when you use certain things to joke people or roast with them. We're talking about when these things go offline and impact your day to day.
Blah, blah, blah says you can use reason to make sense of things, but as far as I can tell, that's not really the purpose of this combo. Oh, that person was talking to JJ. I thought she had some. JJ says, listen, whatever you bring into the ring is in the ring. If you bring your profession in, it's in, and it will be talked about. You got a response to that, Dr. Nikki?
I've already responded to that.
Oh.
Yeah, this right here falls up under the category of stuff you don't have time for today.
JJ follows up saying, and that's not my approval. That's the reality. Everything folks learn about you can and will be used against you. And I completely agree with that, JJ. I do completely agree with that. For me though, I just think that when it comes to kind of using the job thing against you as if it's supposed to be a lifestyle, I think that's kind of when it's like, okay, like, I mean, like it's being like a shit. Like I would say like a teacher or a doctor, for example. is there really a lifestyle followed up with that? Because again, I know doctors and I know teachers that kind of, are totally different. But like I said, with a preacher, I think that's a lifestyle that you have to adhere. I think a personal trainer, that's a lifestyle that you have to adhere. But a lot of these other professional jobs, it's kind of like, look, like it's a job, it's a career, gets my bills paid, it's something I like to do. But once I clock out, it's like, listen, like I come on YouTube, I come YouTube to have fun, like if I wild the fuck out, you know, yeah, like I never knew like that. When people kind of say, well, aren't you supposed to be this? It's kind of like,
But
it's not like,
LV, I really think that that's still a little extreme. I mean, you can be a personal trainer that suffers from bulimia or anorexia. Come on.
wouldn't that be an extreme case though?
Yeah, it is. But I'm just saying, like you're saying that a personal trainer is there all the time. No, they have cheat days. They have days where they don't work out. They have days where they gain a pound or an ounce.
Oh, well, like I
I'm
guess
just kidding. I'm just
I guess
kidding.
oh, like because I was about to use the example of well if you see a personal trainer like smoking cigarettes, if they got a habit of smoking cigarettes, like after they work out, they smoking a cigarette, like just stuff like that. I would say I know what you're talking about. I just don't think it deserves separation. The career, it sets the professionals apart.
I understand what you're saying, YM.
Professionals set apart, aren't they? If you're a public servant, for instance, that is something that does get brought up a lot when it comes to public servant. Do you think a public servant translate into lifestyle, or like what do you think about that, Dr. Nikki?
This sector has made me hate the term public servant because I don't fall up under that. Although this is not about me. And again, I don't think that if you're a public servant that you're set apart from, being off the clock
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying real life situations or
Right.
social media or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty interesting point, though. Got YN people are not professionals and are working Joes also get targeted regarding what they should or shouldn't do. But I do think that is true. YM. But like I think with professionals, I think it's kind of like I think it's like with the professionals, like I think it's much sexier when you say, hey, this teacher said this versus hey, this plumber said this. You get what I'm saying? Like, because a teacher is kind of held to a higher regard looking at what their profession is compared to a plumber. You get what I'm saying? So I think that's where Dr. Nikki was kind of getting at when she kind of use professionals and not just everybody's careers and jobs, even though again that can boot it. But I think the professional thing, especially with how many people are in the sector that are professionals, it kind of writes itself.
Okay, so my reason for using the term professional is because, and again, this it's funny how people have like this selective memory. We do know that there were a group of people in this sector who did target only professionals. They weren't calling the jobs of blue collar workers and other people who work jobs that they considered to be careers who were not or considered to be blue collar or non professional, occupations. So that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. And AJ said, teacher, doctor, preacher, police officer, lawyer, therapist, all come with a set of societal expectations. You can't ask us for the shine from those titles and not accept the flip side of it. Now,
yes, I can, and I did.
Now when it comes to societal,
not doing this with JJ.
Now, when it comes to societal expectations, I agree with the societal expectations. Like, for instance, I would expect a police officer to act a certain way, even if they're off duty. But again, I think there's a difference between societal expectations and lifestyle. But like, I don't want to, keep I want to keep going around and round in circles stuff, but I do understand your point, JJ. I really do. Yeah, it's a sunset, but it falls under the same thing to me. This is a fuck shit roasting sector professional getting trolled isn't any more special than a blue collar worker. I completely agree with them. Yep, I do agree with that. As far as getting roasted, I do agree with that. I don't think it's any more special at all. But some people have more to lose than others. That's a good point too. Blah blah blah. Sound like another mutual combat exception. Yo, JJ, something else. I'm not a public servant either. Let's see who
Yeah,
else.
JJ and his wonderful opinions. I'm glad that he knows me so well. Someone I talk to the least in the sector knows me the best. I love it.
So YM asked if being a professional is a vulnerable. Yes, I agree. And I'm interested to see what the other vulnerabilities pop up on the list y'all have.
At YM, there may not be any others, but I do know that, again, there's a group who only targeted people who are professionals. So, in that vein is part of the reason why I listed that separately as I was thinking about what has happened over the sector. But let's move on to the next one.
All right. Let me go ahead and get to the next one here. Let's see. So we got disrespecting boundaries, ignoring or violating the personal boundaries of others. So, Dr. Nikki, what are your thoughts on this? I think we kind of touched up on it a little bit earlier.
Absolutely. I think we have. So I don't think we need to really spend a whole lot of time on this one. Again, some of the topics, as they've been laid out, kind of, intersect or, kind of fall up and, others as we're talking about, one will kind of cover the other. But just respecting someone's boundaries. If someone is saying, please don't do this, then I think that I don't think that it should be frowned upon for someone to establish a boundary of saying, hey, I would appreciate it, or please just don't do this, or I'm going to block you because I don't want to talk with you, or I don't want to be in your presence or be on a panel with you, or any of those things. I think that people should respect those boundaries.
Right, I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. So let's get to the next one, lying and trolling. So we talked about trolling for a while. So here's this part, spreading false information or engaging in online harassment disguised as humor. Now, I think kind of key things we got to look at here is disguised as humor, because there has been times where people do certain things and we hear that old thing, oh, I was just trolling. So, Dr. Nick, thoughts on this?
Again, I just have serious issues or concerns with some of the behavior. And Stefan mentioned it earlier with the scapegoating, to saying that, oh, well, I was just trolling. When, let's say, you get a group of people who do kind of call someone out to say, hey, man, why did you do this, that, and that? Oh, I was just trolling. No, you weren't. You were not trolling. You were either telling a lie or you were trying to do something and you don't want to be held accountable for the bullshit that you just did that nobody is supporting. So, that's what I mean by that. I mean, we can't say every time somebody gets called out for something that, oh, well, that's just trolling. And that means that trolling is a lot of things. I don't think we have a clear example or idea of what it means to troll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think it's more just establishing on. I think it's more establishing on if the other person may understand what's going on. I mean, because with me, for instance, like I've been roasted, I've been trolled on certain things, and very rarely do I get upset about it. So I may be more of a target for trolling because I'm someone that doesn't really take it to that next level as far as my reaction. But there are some people who think like, look, listen, like you mentioned earlier about not crossing boundaries, respecting boundaries. And, it's just that I think it's about reading the room is what I'm saying. Just about
absolutely.
Yeah, just about reading the room, because I can, because I can go to somebody's show that's about the fuck shit. So I know going in, look, I'm gonna go in here for the fuck shit. I'm gonna troll. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. But if I go to somebody else's show and they're more serious about building the stuff like that, then again, like I gotta read the room. I'm like, look, like I gotta, I gotta read the room. I gotta follow what's going on in this room. So, but yeah, like that whole thing about I'm just trolling. I mean, that's definitely getting old. That's definitely getting an old excuse. I will say that.
Absolutely. Like the people who are trolling today, instead of just acknowledging the fact that you just came here to be an asshole. So yeah, we see it everywhere.
So let me see what people got going on. Got some conversations going on in the chat. Stefan tells, confused by April, no one ignores or overlooks my entry. People like you bring it up every day, even 4 years after the fact. So how is that ignored? Not quite sure what's going on over there. Let me see. YM, in this sector, there's a range of trolling. There are different kinds. Yep, I do agree with that, YM. There are different kinds of it. That I do agree. What you think about that, Dr. Nikki? Is all trolling the same in this sector, or are there different kinds?
Again, that was something that I didn't know anything about until coming to, YouTube and interacting with the sector. So that's something that I can't like I wouldn't even know the ranges of trolling. I just know that everything that people do, that once you do it and people don't receive it well, you can't say, oh, well, then I was trolling.
Right.
So I guess a more appropriate way of talking about it would be, stop using trolling as the fallback for your, disgusting behaviors.
Mm. Muslim says, why children, families,
Wait,
and
wait.
deceased.
No, no, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I want you to go back to one of JJ's comments that's
Okay.
before the one you just highlighted. But no, go ahead and read Muz's since it's up there.
All right. And loved ones are off limits no matter what. And I would add women in the sector, in my opinion. So we get to JJ. Stephanie Collins, like I told somebody on the panel a long time ago before they got doxxed, take your full name off your channel. This is a costume party. Take off your work ID.
So are you saying, or is the inference from that everything that I got afterwards is something that I deserve because I didn't follow your wise suggestion?
Guess we'll wait on JJ's response on that. See if anybody else got anything to say before we get to the next one. Do you have any last words when it comes to trolling, Dr. Nikki?
No, I think that it would be worthwhile for so we've had content creators in the sector to do, focused conversations on certain things. Like I did one on gaslighting, Josephine did one on roasting and doxing and all the other kind of stuff, to where we could actually see like the different I know I would appreciate it, the ones for what do you call it, trolling, the different kinds and examples of what those are. Because from my viewpoint, trolling to me is, just your ability to lie.
Mm-hmm. And there was a follow-up from Stephen. He said, I decided
and harass someone. Go ahead.
Yeah, like there was a follow-up from Stephen saying he decided to do that as well. From what Chat Live said, it's the best approach. JJ out of here wilding out. I purposely misconstruing what somebody said. All right, so let's go get to the next topic here. What's this thing is? I keep losing my damn spot. Hold on. Wait a minute, is this it? No, that's not it.
No, we've done that one.
Attitude towards marriage and family, criticism towards these institutions, particularly from those not involved in them. So right here, we're talking about marriage. And I think it kind of falls in line in a little bit with what we talked about earlier with the husband, wives, kids, and stuff like that. So, or is there anything anything that need to be added to that one, Dr. Nikki?
No, I think we kind of covered it in earlier discussion with boundaries and the whole notion of doxing. And it seems is that oftentimes the people who are most critical of what goes on or what should be allowable in someone else's marriage are people who have not been married before or not even in relationships, and in fact might be incels and femcels. So it seems like those are the people who kind of are the most disrespectful and the most vocal about what should and should not occur, and have no problems offline, feeling like, okay, well, let me dox this person so that I can see what his or her, spouse might do and cause problems with those things as well. Again, I mean, overall, I mean, if I could use a word or a term to describe, what we're talking about here, it would go back to this idea of boundaries. Like, we don't have any boundaries here, so it seems like anything goes. And you know, people are very sanctimonious as well as cavalier about the bullshit that they do.
Mhm. So let's get to the next one here. So truth and credibility, only accepting certain sources as truthful regardless of evidence. So this here has been an issue where you just get the information from somebody and then people just automatically run with it. Some people kind of use that for content, and depending on who the person is, they'll kind of look at them as a trustworthy source. They said it, and it kind of, it just kind of snowballs into something. So, what do you got to add to that, Dr. Nikki?
Just more along the lines of, vetting information that you get, because there are certain people who in the sector and in this space who, whenever they speak, no one questions what it is that they're saying or the information that they have or give. And things just kind of run and have a life of its own, and then it falls into other categories that we talked about.
Right, I feel you. Just to answer a question of YM, yeah, YM. I will go ahead and post more polls. I just got kind of lost because I was in the chat responding to comments, but I will put up another poll pretty soon. Got chat lives. He says, listen, shots and insults and innuendos hidden behind a cloak of whatever that word.
Intellectualism are still shots, insults, and innuendos. Yeah, and they go both ways.
Yeah, I appreciate
Sometimes they
that.
come in the form of helpful comments.
Hmm. Let's see what else someone has here.
Especially the
JJJ.
ones that are unsolicited.
Yeah, I feel you. See if anybody else has anything. I know you don't want the smoke. I wouldn't either if I spewed as much the proc. Oh, never mind. They just talking in the chat. You said the good guys, Doc. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. That's the more people. Oh, so let's go ahead and get to the next point here. Lack of credit for others, work without acknowledgement. Now, you may need to clarify just a little bit, Dr. Nikki, because some people may look at this in kind of a few ways. Like, now we talking about clipping people's channels like during a live stream as far as commentary, or like so you kind of break down exactly what you're talking about here?
Okay, so it's twofold. So we do have people who and these are things that I have witnessed myself. Like, someone will introduce something new to the sector and someone else will take it and say, well, I can do it better, but it wasn't your original idea. And then you don't even state that someone gave you the idea to do this or try it yourself.
Hmm.
um you know as we've seen recently with someone going into another sector and using all of other people's catchphrases and taglines without
Right.
giving credit to the source. Just the little things that we do that kind of make us unique as individuals within this space. Other people kind of taking it and claiming it and owning it as their own, whether it be jokes that you tell, catchphrases, um, clipping other people's channels, not giving them credit for it, not citing it anywhere to say, hey, this information, not even, with the respect of saying, hey, this came from such and such as live earlier today. I mean, we've seen instances of other people live streaming other people's lives while they're live streaming someone else's live. I mean, I think that, it's like, well, why are you trying to take the, move the numbers or steal some of the, viewers, or like, I don't even know what the purpose in doing that from, but I just think that, it's like, why why are we doing this? What's the gag?
Yeah, like,
what I'm saying? Like, what's the gag? Or like, for example, and why I'm only using you as an example. I'm not calling you out, but I'm only using you as an example because you're not a content creator. Well, you are in my eyes, but you're not vocal. You don't get on panels or anything. But like, for example, somebody taking, YM's artwork, not giving her credit for it, and then putting it on your merch and you're selling it. I'm not saying someone has done that. I'm saying an example of that would be, not giving credit to the fact that, or even asking her and say that, this was drawn by such and such, and hey, let me reach out to you to see, hey, I like what you did, can I put it on some merch and sell it and give you a kickback? Or hey, would you draw something for me and I'll make sure that I give credit to who helped me with this, or whatever. Because some people have gone into other sectors and touted that they had skill sets that actually belong to the skill sets of other people in the sector that they have access to. So I'm talking about all of that.
Right. So as far as with my experience with that, like, I have always tried, like, if I wanted to do something and I know if it was at least inspired in a way, I always try to give credit the best way that I can, whether it's, hey, like, I pretty much got this idea, or the idea was inspired by so and so. There was actually a point in time, really, on this channel where I tried to do something called the Secktah court thing, and I went to the guy who came up with the concept. I immediately emailed him. I let him know, hey, look, do I have your blessing? He told me, yeah. And even when I made the trailer of it, I even said, hey, I had this person's blessing to do it, just trying to make it seem to everybody like, look, like, I just ain't blatantly stealing this, even though if I don't say anything, they're going to be like, as if I stole it. So I always try my best to kind of give credit if I got an idea from somebody, or if it was inspired and I put my own little twist on it, like, I always try to do that. But yeah, like, I definitely agree. Like, if you do have an idea, or, I would even say, like, if you're a clip channel, or if you do live streams and you are using clips from people's live streams, I mean, look, like, I would even go as far as to put their link in your description to show them exactly where you got the clips from. Now, with me, that's just me. That's just the old school YouTuber in me, because back then, if we use people's clips, we would always leave their links in the description box, whether we think they full of shit or not. But that's just me, though. But that's just my
Right.
long
And
reply.
again, YM makes some really good points, but again, the point of that sentiment, YM, was the fact that someone would even think that it's okay to take it without even having a conversation with you, because that's kind of seems to be the behavior of others in the sector. Again, I'm glad that your situation worked out, but what I'm saying is just the audacity of thinking that I could do this and not even have to say anything to her, or feel like it belongs to you because it's your face. But if it's her artistic representation of you, it belongs to her. That's her intellectual property.
Okay, so it looks like we have our first guest. I don't know where this is gonna go, but just let you know, bro. I mean, like, we building, so we got folks on the panel. What's going on? Lord, folks, whole time. What's going on? Hopefully, I'm not porn, Bob. It says you was authenticated.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you. What's going on?
Nah, I dead ass just dropped in. I don't know the conversation, but I heard Dr. Nikki mention she just name dropped somebody, and she didn't have to do that. I think she just like how she always is, just desperate to just stroke someone's ego. She could have made her point without just randomly bringing up somebody who's yet to really showcase themselves as a person. And it just seems like she's just struggling to just get people to just
All right,
co-sign what she's saying.
Photon. Hold on, Photon. Like, let's kind of.
Why Photon? Whatever do you mean? How are you, darling?
I'm good. How are you?
That's what I thought. See, he just needed me to say something to him, LV. He's good. So now what is your point, sweetheart?
No, I don't have a point.
I didn't think you did. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
That's what I thought. See?
Well, hey, you pretty much got the magic touch with that one. All right.
I cannot with Photon. I can't. That's a special guy. I promise you that is a special guy. Why am I had your back, sweetheart? It was a nothing burger, but you see it fed the baby.
That's something else.
I know it. Oh, let me mute so I can really laugh.
All right. So while Dr. Nikki's recovering from that, I guess this would be a good time to kind of transition up. Here we go again. Now look, Photon again, bro. Again, this a build show, Photon. Like we gotta chill out a little bit tonight, bro.
Hi,
Just
Photon.
for tonight.
Respectfully.
Hi, Photon.
Dr. Nikki,
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
can you stand on your nuts?
I don't have nuts, darling, but I can stand on yours.
I'm not remix. This is Photon.
I don't know who you're talking about.
What?
Whenever you're ready, Dr. Nikki, just let me know.
What else can I do for you, Photon?
I'm sorry, what were y'all talking about? I would just be quiet.
All right.
Okay, well, you can do that from home, darling.
No, because I just want to know. I'm not even gonna give that any attention. It's
Why?
just
I gave
really
you attention.
oxymoronic.
I gave
You're
you
a
attention.
doctor. You're a
I
doctor.
gave you attention, and you're a lord.
True.
If you want me to stop entertaining this, Dr. Nikki, just let me know.
Oh, okay, so wow, LV. Really, LV? What are
This
you
is
entertaining, LV? What are you entertaining?
Goodbye, Photon. I'll see
I'm
you
on
later.
your side. All right, bye.
Goodbye, Photon. All right. Let's go ahead and switch gears, y'all.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so we're pretty much getting close, y'all. Getting close. So that was y'all little entertainment for tonight. So let's get to gaslighting and microaggression.
Microaggression.
This is the last part of this. Is the last one of the first part, and then we'll go through the roles, y'all. So we're almost done. Invalidating others' experiences or subtly discriminatory behaviors. Now, I ain't gonna sit here and lie. I'm a little bit guilty of this. I won't sit here and lie. I'm a little bit guilty of this. So
How so? Do tell. One that struck LV, the great showman, the snake man, the WWE man. Go ahead.
ugh. Not WWE, man. I do not like WWE.
Just joking.
But yeah, you know, like if we're gonna be honest tonight, you know, yeah. And, you know, like I had, you know, again, you know, like I had my little 2020 run, a little bit of 2021, and you know, like, you know, but again, you know, like I changed. I learned the error of my ways.
And what was the error of your ways? So what are you talking about? The gaslighting or the microaggression? Because we see a lot of this microaggression take place between men and women, and the fact that the from this point of view, it appears as though men are very willing to bury the hatchet, but when it comes to women, and you know, and I'm gonna say our because I'm a woman, and our disagreements, you seem to egg those things on because it does give you content, but you don't want to show any division in the brotherhood per se, but you'll egg on women stuff.
Well, like, as far as like me trying to, as far as me egging on women stuff, that stuff I don't do. You know, like that stuff I don't do. But like as far as like, you know, like I would say like 2020, a little bit of 2021, you know, yeah, you know, like I would, you know, like I would kind of instigate some shit a little bit, like in the chat, or if I go on the panel, you know, involving, you know, with one group and another group, you know, like I would kind of but again, you know, like I changed, you know, like I learned the error of my ways. That was back in the day, you know, like I haven't done something like that in probably probably almost 3 years. But yeah, you know, like I was an asshole back then. I ain't gonna sit here.
Well, I do know that earlier today, and I didn't watch, I probably watched maybe like 10, 15 minutes of Pills' show, but he said something to the effect of, and he's been saying this for quite some time, about women, you know, going live in the sector, and the fact that we don't have a lot of female content creators going live. Well, I'd like to argue that part of the reason why is because you all don't come out and support. Like there's not a gentleman that goes live in the sector that doesn't have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, even 100 people show up in the chat. But, you know, let one of the women in the, you know, go live, barely break 20, 30 people. So the support is just not there.
Right.
And we're talking to the same group of people. And it seems like, you know, again, when you all go live speaking about male content creators, you know, everybody seems to come out and want to participate. But with women content creators, even if we're talking about the same things or the same mess or whatever, it seems like the numbers just don't correlate. They just don't.
Yeah. And hey, Photon, I see you. You know, like a backspace player, you know, like I can't do it, bro. I can't do it tonight. I'm sorry, I can't do it tonight. You know, you can't come back on 820 day. Come back on 820 day, player. You know, I can't do it, bro. When the hard hat is on, I can't do it. Anyways, do you have any?
And see, just like we have an instance of gaslighting because somebody is calling me a liar about things that are observed. I mean, again, the gaslighting.
Oh, the response to JK. Oh man. I'm talking about.
You have a message.
Yeah, I see it. Oh man, I already know what's gonna come next. I already know what's gonna happen next. It is what it is. It is what it is. Come back on 820 day, full time. Come back on 820 day. And trust me, you probably are gonna like coming on 820 day because I got something for y'all. I ain't gonna say nothing yet, but I got something for y'all on 820 day. Y'all like it though. All right, so let's get to the roles of certain let's get to the roles here. So content creators. So Dr. Nikki, you said something along that content creators are reminded not to antagonize others out of a lack of creativity.
Okay, so so just in talking about these roles in general, because I really think that people probably need a little bit of time to think a little bit about, you know, how they see themselves and the value of each one of these entities that kind of make up what we call a live stream. So I think that there seems to be a little discrepancy on what is actually content. And I'm not one to, and I'm not here to, you know, define what content is. I just struggle a little bit with finding content to be someone or a content creator as anyone who presses a live button and you're just talking, or either you depend on other people to kind of help carry your show or a conversation or so on and so forth, like with really no kind of rhyme or reason. And again, that's just, you know, an observation that I've seen just from being a part of multiple sectors, not just this one. You know, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure in this sector, like what we constitute as content.
Yeah, like
Can
I
you?
think,
Oh,
yeah, like I think it, yeah, like I think it's kind of, yeah, like I think it's kind of a gray area what people consider content, because some people may say, "Oh, that's not content." Like some people may say, clipping channels and turning into a show, like that's not content, or just reacting to somebody's live, and that's not content. You know what? You know what? As a matter of fact, there's actually a debate on my own channel talking about what is content or not. So this always, I think this will always be a topic of contention, and maybe something we as a small sector won't all the way understand or like come to an agreement with. We do got a guest, got Mr. Risley in building. What's going on, Riz?
It's me. What's going on, y'all? I just tap in basically just let
hey,
y'all know,
man,
keep doing God's work. What's going on, Nikki? What's up?
you're.
One way Slickster. Y'all doing God's work. Y'all doing God's work. Keep doing God's work. This show is lit. You know what I'm saying? And this is a beautiful topic. You know what I mean? And as far as every other topic that was pretty much covered in here, um, you know, you can see that there was really nobody in the chat, but basically those looking for drama elsewhere. So keep doing y'all jobs. You know what I'm saying? God's work, hashtag. We in here, we lit. I'm in the chat, all right?
Right.
All
And
right. Facts.
So
appreciate it,
YM
Riz.
and Spot'em both say that they agree that anything can be content. Um, well, I guess what we're saying as a sector, based on, you know, the sentiment from them two, is that anything goes as content. So I guess any and everybody can be any and everybody is a content creator. Now I beg to differ, because I do feel, and I have felt a lot of times that, you know, sometimes people take for granted and, you know, waste people's time. But you know, hey.
And that does bring up a good poll topic. So why, if there is a poll as far as are there any specifics to what makes something as content? Now, with me, I'm kind of old school again. So forgive me in my old school type of ways, but I know for me back in the day, you know, doing reaction shows was heavily looked down upon. But knowing how YouTube is now, like I pretty much understand what the market is and what the landscape of it is. So in a way, reactions can be considered content. Clipping shows from another show can be considered content and stuff like that. So I pretty much understand what the market is now, but kind of that old school in me is still kind of saying like, look, you know, like we gotta be original. But again, you know, like I ain't trying to hate on nobody for that. So I pretty much get it. So I guess you could say in a way, everything can be content, but goes back to what I said. That's just debate we're always gonna have. What's
Well, see,
content?
I appreciate the clip shows. So I mean, I do see the clip shows as content because really that's all they do. There's no voice added to it. You know, it's kind of like you kind of get a synopsis of stuff, because sometimes, you know, people don't have 8, 9, 10 hours to listen to someone else's show to kind of get like the long and the short of it. And I noticed that it seems from the sectors that I've been in, the sectors that I'm actively engaged with, that each one of the sectors actually has someone who kind of is responsible for clipping the long and the short of, what happened for those people who can't always be there for the lives. And then we've got people who like to go live and then take their lives down. So without the clip shows, you kind of wouldn't know what was going on. So by no
Right.
means am I talking about like the clip shows. They definitely serve their purpose, as well as the shows that kind of archive like historical moments within the sector. They definitely have their place. But when you're talking about a reaction, oftentimes what's missing is the reaction.
Mhm.
So it's like,
Right.
if you're going to be a reaction to some content being played, then have a reaction or something to say. Like, it shouldn't be you just reiterating what is said, because then that becomes insulting to your audience who's also listening, who can also read and are watching it with you, so they're seeing what you're seeing. Like, offer
Right.
some analysis to it. And as I said, this is no attack on any one individual, so by all means, please don't take it as such. For those who are content creators who are listening now, but I have seen it where some people call themselves reactionary channels, and what they're forgetting is the commentary that goes along with the reaction.
Mhm. Right. I definitely do. Yeah, like I definitely do agree with that. Like again, like that. Just don't make the tape roll like all the way through and just making us watch, because it can kind of hurt the attention span of some viewers, and it may get to a point where some people be like, well, shit, what's the point of me watching this? I might as well just go to the original video. We got a comment from JJ saying, how about just discarding the term content creator? Why do we even need it? That JJ, I do agree that we do need to eliminate the content creator thing. Again, with me
So
being
what would
old
you call
school
them?
YouTuber, that's that's it. It's pretty much exactly how we used to call it back in the day when I first started doing videos in 2007. We just get called YouTubers. But then this whole content creator thing, like that shit showed up like in the mid 2010s. And I'm just hearing people saying, yeah, I'm a content creator. I'm a content creator, but but I do agree with that one. Like, we do have to scrub the content creator thing, because for me at least, I don't think everything can be considered content as far as a content creator. Now, if we're talking about anything being content, then maybe so. But when you have the content creator thing on it, like I kind of think of putting some time and energy into your shit. Like just doing just something as like a simple little edit. It don't got to be no Mr. Beast type shit, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
just add some type of substance. But again, y'all, this is just my old school boomer YouTuber type of mindset. So don't mind me on what I'm saying, because again, this is just me being old school. Because listen, when I first came into the sector, if you guys notice how I was back then, all I would do was just put up a picture, get a microphone, and talk. I wouldn't do no edits. I didn't do no thumbnails, because I thought that shit was stupid back in the day. You know, because again, with us old school people, we thought thumbnails were just a way to cheat, like you're clickbaiting. And I had
Mm-hmm.
that mindset for so long, but it just got to a point while I was in this sector where I started experimenting with certain shit. Nowadays, y'all see me doing certain edits and all that other stuff. It's like, look, like I'm just trying to get into the vibe of what YouTube is now. You're gonna have to work on your thumbnails, do this, do that. That's what I do now. But back in the day, shit, I was like, the fuck is this? I ain't doing this bullshit. I ain't doing no fucking thumbnail editing. Why? All I gotta do is just get a microphone and talk. That's it. But that's how I was back then. But don't mind me, y'all. Don't mind me. Please don't mind me. I'm just being old
Exactly.
school. I'm just being
Exactly.
old
I
school.
mean, I find it fascinating, and as I said, I'm not picking on anyone. I find it fascinating that people will gather to watch people play video games. I kind of see like as that as being something where, for it to be fun or engaging, like you would want to be playing that person while they're playing the video game. But again, I'm not a video game enthusiast. So, again, I don't subscribe to those types of channels or those sectors. But that's just an example of me, wondering like, wow, is this really content? And like, how effective is it if the people who are in the chat aren't playing with you?
Hmm. Chat Live Matter said the clip channels keep the sector alive by keeping us updated. Now, that part I do agree. Chat Live Matter, especially when there are some of us that can't watch every single solitary minute of it. So, well, there are people that do clip channels. It is definitely a help. Definitely a help for me to be stay up to date. For those of y'all who are not aware, I did take a break from the sector, from social media for a while, but there are times where I'll go to a Pacific Clip channel to see what's going on, and it kind of helped me up to speed because trust, when it comes to this sector, if you're gone for a week, you miss a whole lot of shit. So it's like,
Exactly. And in other sectors, if you miss any of the lives, although they're all going live 24/7, and you don't know what's going on.
I feel you. We lost a lot of history due to such. I'm telling you. Whatever people have an interest in children consuming and enjoying this content, even the clip channels. Some people prefer clip channels to long live streams. Yep, I do agree
Now,
with
wait a
that.
minute. I have to address Prince Stephen. Like, Stephen, are you kidding me? You are the main person who will go into someone's chat or come up on the panel and say, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. So how dare you say the sector is so small, so how can one fall behind? So does that mean that you've been trolling us all this time with what you don't know about what's going on? Is Stephen not guilty of that? What's going on? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Stephen, stop it.
There's a lot of people guilty on that.
Like, Stephen, you are the main person. That's how we know when it's you, because you never know what's going on. We're like, yep, that's Stephen. So stop it, boo.
Mm-mm-mm.
Exactly. Like, again, YM, is that trolling or lying? Like, I don't know. Okay, let's move along because I'm starting to get giddy with this. Because again, it like my seriousness has tapped out.
All right, so we got about 3 more slides, y'all. So let's talk about the panelists. So they should contribute positively to discussions rather than disrupting them. That is a big one here. That is definitely a big thing in this sector. Kind of had an example of that earlier. But how would you expound on this one, Dr. Nikki?
Okay, so I think that people in that probably misunderstood what I meant by positively. It doesn't mean that you always have to agree. It doesn't mean that you have to be disagreeable. It doesn't mean that dissension is not welcome. All those things make for robust conversations. But what I am saying, I'm talking about those who get up on panels and you just kind of sit there and you don't say anything. It's like, why are you just sitting up there? You don't have to be seen in those, those ways. Like, if you're not going to say anything, then why are you up there? Like, unless you're an invited guest, that's a little different. But to just sit up there and you don't say anything, you don't have any comments, or if somebody notices that, you're waiting to speak, and then when you do speak, like, oh, I don't have anything to say, I'm just up here. It's like, well, why? You could just be down there chatting with everybody else, hopefully getting some activity or, interaction going on. So that's what I was saying about, panelists. Again, panelists, you do have a role. Your role is to assist with the conversation, whether it be, you're challenging an idea, or you're adding to the conversation, or you're bringing another point of view. But do something. Like, a panelist, that's an activity. It's not like a placeholder.
Right. Now the thing I'm about to talk about here, it's not much as a problem now, but back then this used to drive me insane, where people would have lives and we're just deep into the conversation. Somebody comes on there and the first thing they said is, well, what are you guys talking about? Explain to me what's going on. And it's like, dude, get off the panel and put that shit on 1.5, 2 speed to catch up. I can't stand when people do that shit. When they just come on the panel, hey guys, what's going on? What are you guys talking about? Can you explain to me what's going on? And then the host will have to explain. I'm like, come on, man. Like, what we doing? Like, what we doing? Like, just stay in the chat, rewind, put the shit on 2 speed so you can be caught up. Once you get caught up, then go up on the panel and add your 2 cents. But man, that shit's annoying as fuck, yo. I swear to God, like I would get so annoyed with that shit. Like, dude, get the fuck off the panel. The fuck is you talking about? Get off. Why are you asking what's going on? And we in the middle of a conversation, especially when it's a deep one, when it's getting good. Hey guys, what's going on? Like, get the fuck. Anyways, I kind of got triggered when you started.
You did. That's why I'm still laughing. So
that shit. I'm sorry, and that's no.
It normally bothers me too, but today I just had to laugh about it because I was like, I got to pick my battles.
That's no offense to anybody, like, again, I'm not trying to offend nobody by saying that, but it's like, again, if y'all one of those people, please just stay in the chat, put it on 1.5 or 2 speed, catch up, and when you're eager to get on, go ahead. So let the conversation flow. When you do that shit, oh man, what's going on? Can y'all explain to me? Then everybody got to stop what they're doing to explain to you what's going on, where everybody else know what the hell going on. It's like, stop, man, get off. Just get off. Please get off. But that's just me.
Right. But that's similar to like if you're in class and you don't know what's going on, most of the time it's because you haven't read, but your teacher wouldn't get upset at you if you could formulate a question. Like, I see this and I heard this, but I don't understand why this is a problem. Like, at least come up to the panel and say that. I don't understand why this is a problem or something, or why are we arguing over this topic? Anything. But what's going on? I don't know what's going on. Like, that's just crazy to me.
It's just wild. There's a comment by YM. She says disruptions in small accounts can be good to change at the pace. That can be true, but it just depends on what's going on. Now, I've had probably a couple of times when I went live where things was just getting a little bit out of hand and somebody came up and I was actually glad they came. So it's kind of like, oh, hey, here's so-and-so, so yes. So yes, that can help. That can be a good thing, but not all the time. But there are times that can help. So I do agree with that. So let's go ahead.
But see, I agree with YM as well. But the issue is that it doesn't happen in small amounts.
Oh no, it definitely don't help in no small amounts. All right, so let's get to, we talked about panelists. Let's talk about chatters. We got a lot of chatters here tonight. They play a significant role in engaging with content and should recognize their value. So what do you think about that?
So with the chatters, my sentiment behind making that statement goes back to the content creators, because we do have, and we have been in situations and in spaces where people say, oh, fuck the chat, or the chat doesn't matter, or I don't care about the numbers, or I don't care if none of y'all show up, and this, that, and the third. And it's like, again, without the people who are in the chat, then you don't have a show. You basically are talking to hear yourself talk. You don't have an audience. Every show needs an audience. You need somebody who's performing and someone who is in the audience consuming what's going on. So I just think that we can be a little bit more respectful and value the people who actually come to your shows a little more often. I mean, most places that we go in the sector do shout out the people as they come in or what have you. But sometimes there are some spaces where they don't. There are some sectors that I have been in where, and these are larger channel numbers, channel holders, but I've seen people, just super chatting away, and then some of those content creators don't even stop and read the doggone super chats. So just thinking about again, just the value of people actually coming to your show. Like, we don't have to be here, we can be anywhere, in the words of Jay-Z, but be glad that I came to spend my time with you. That's all.
Mhm. Now, if we can think of the flip side of that, do you think that there are times, or can be times, where kind of the chat kind of takes advantage of that a little bit when it comes to the content creators? What's your thoughts on that?
Take advantage how?
Um, like going to the whole side of like the fuck the chat. There have been perceptions that the chat is controlling the show. The chat's telling the content creator what to do, and like, and all that, and kind of using that dangling carrot of, well, if you don't do what we say, we'll bounce, or something like that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do see instances of that, but again, this is where you have, as a content creator, you kind of have to weigh, is it this one person or is it the rest of your people? Bye, Lord
Mhm.
Photon. Have a wonderful rest. LV, you done pissed Photon off. He's gone. So we just lost the chatter.
It is what it is.
So going back to what you were saying, we definitely, and we've seen instances of that. And I think that, again, I think that people who are content creators, can should definitely have consistency on how they want to run their show, and but not take away from the value of actually having people to come that who come to your show. So I've as I say, I've been places where the chat completely disrespected, and I'm talking about on behalf of the content creators. Now, you would want your panelists to respect your chat as well, but that you, as the channel holder, you govern all of that. Again, we can't just have these situations where the content creator is like, well, what do you want me to do? Well, it's like, no, you have something to do. You have something to do. You have a role.
Right. So we got JJ. He's trying to get your attention again, Dr. Nikki. I think he's just trying to build a bridge with you.
It's not. You can't build a bridge with me. Like, you are blocked. You can't log into my StreamYard, Restream, or anything. So no, sir, you will not be there.
I tried, JJ. We just gotta try harder. We got to try harder, JJ. We got to try harder.
I just like I tried with Photon. I tried Photon.
All right. So, all right, guys. So we're gonna get to the very last thing here. So, moderators. They are responsible for maintaining order and should be supported by content creators. Now, that last little bit, Dr. Nikki, can you kind of expand on that a little bit? Should be supported by content creators. What do you exactly mean by that?
Just as the content creators are being tipped, I think that the moderators should be tipped for the work that they do as well. Period. Mic drop.
Now, that one, I gotta be honest. To me, I think that's insane.
Why? I mean, moderators, we actually have to do work. And it depends on, again, especially if you're modding on a channel where, what the content creator says is very controversial. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Ebu, Chat Lives Matter could never make you jealous. When I tell you, as soon as I get off this panel, I will go back to him being invisible, which I cannot wait.
Now, as far as that topic, the only person in this sector, and again, like, I want to bring up names, but one of them does a thing where, they do op fees, but they put the moderator's cash app there, and then that way, I guess we'll say they would get, their contribution to it. But at the same time, that content creator doesn't tip them. He allows the people in the chat to tip them, but it's based off of op feed. But yeah, Nikki, like I think, yeah, like I think that's tough for me at least, because for me, if somebody makes you a moderator, I think that is a choice if you want to moderate. Now, there have been bigger YouTubers that have moderators and they will just be there just for the sake of, because they love that content creator. So they do it out of love. But yeah. That's just
well,
my thought.
moderators are, but moderators are tipping the content creators as well. I don't see anything wrong with a content creator showing a moderator appreciation by saying, "Hey, here's $5 for your birthday." Anything. I'm not saying like on a regular basis, but I don't think that content creators should just be taking.
Right, I feel
When
you.
they don't do the show, they don't work the show by themselves. They don't.
Right, I feel you. Now I do just want to get to the first part. They're responsible for maintaining order. So can you expound on that a little bit?
Well, I mean, your moderators, are there to, help greet your, people coming in, reminding people of, to get the likes up and, kind of following the content creators lead. But as far as maintaining order, I'm talking about like to ensure to some degree, not necessarily policing, but you don't want visitors to the chat, like when other sectors come over, you don't want them coming over acting a fool, but you also don't want people harassing one another. I mean, things that are just unnecessary that kind of take away from either what's going on as far as the content, or intervening and what's the word I'm looking for, being petty with people that they don't like personally. It's like, just because you don't like somebody personally, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should just be, blocking that person or timing that person out just because you can. I mean, there are moderators who do abuse their privileges. So that's what I'm saying. One of the things that they do is just, help maintain order. Like, your job is not to take out your personal vendettas and all these other types of things on people. Like, realize that even as a moderator, you can help kill a channel.
Right. And that's kind of what it leads to want to ask you next. Now, you've been a moderator on numerous channels. Dr. Nikki, what in the hell is it about that damn wrench that make people go crazy? I do not understand it.
I don't know. Like, some people think they're superheroes with them. Now, I mod for, quite a few channels in this sector and in other sectors. And, I don't know. I think that some people, and this is just what I've heard, there are reasons why some people are modded, and then there are some people who are modded to actually be moderators. So some people are modded because some of the moderators that they've chosen are irresponsible with that stick. You know what I'm saying? Like, they will, again, time out or block the people that they don't like, although it has nothing to do with the content creator and what's going on with that particular topic. Then there are times where, there's some people in there acting a doggone fool that you won't get, or you'll have some people who are moderators that will call out other moderators and be like, well, why'd you do this and this, that, and the third, when it's supposed to be some sort of discretion in there. And again, and I've been guilty of that. But, there's supposed to be some sort of, discretion amongst, who is blocking whom, so that these people don't have issues elsewhere. Just for doing their jobs. But some people, I don't know. They just go crazy when they get that stick, and they really, really feel like they actually do have some power, when really all you have is authority, because it's the content creator who has the power.
Right.
And some people really feel like that gives them not necessarily the privileges that a moderator has of, you know, getting rid of people, but that you could just say whatever the fuck you want to say. And guess what? Sometimes you could be wrong too. Which
Yeah.
is now why you have manager moderators to get rid of moderators who are out of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not as much of a big problem now than it was in previous years. And for those y'all who are not aware, why I never had moderators the whole entire time I've done it is because of that reason, because I have witnessed firsthand that damn wrench caused so much fucking drama and it's so unnecessary. So when I decided to go live, I'm like, look, listen, the very last thing I need to hear is when I'm doing my show, somebody comes up there and said, hey, so and so blocked me, and there's their argument, and then people looking at me, and it's like, wait a minute, like, no. Now listen, I ain't saying that everybody is like that as a mod, but at the same exact time, I ain't trusting no damn body. So pretty much ever since then, I pretty much didn't had no damn mods. And if it turns out if I do block somebody, guess what? It came from me. It came from me. You ain't gotta blame nobody. Give me all that unnecessary bullshit because I've seen it way too much in this sector. So yeah, like with moderators listening, y'all do have a job, but don't let that damn wrench get to y'all head. Every time I've been moderators, I can give a shit less if my mod stick get taken away or anything like that. It's like, okay, fine. You know, I mean, if we're being real for some of us, once we get a damn mod stick, all we doing is just being nosy on what everybody's saying and who blocked who. Shit. At least that was how I took it. It's like, oh shit, that person timed out that person. Oh damn, that was kind of sneaky. I don't be saying shit. I'm like, okay. That's why I don't care about if I get a mod stick or not.
Well, I think too that sometimes content creators play games with those moderator sticks. Like you'll give everybody one, you'll take them away, you'll give them one, you'll take them away. It's just like, make up your fucking mind. Because really, sometimes people who are moderators actually feel like every time you go live that they have to be on the show. So there's a sense of obligation that some people feel when they take responsibilities seriously. And I'm not talking about the ones who let it go to your head, but those who take them seriously.
And we do got Slander. He's puts up the fuck wrench movement. Yes, things like
Yeah,
Slander. Yeah, I think
he'll
it's
put
like
up the fuck a
Slander.
wrench, but he got a wrench. So it's like, which one is it, nigga? Fuck the wrench, but I'll take a wrench. Like, what is it? What is that?
And then confused by the wrench is the smallest amount of power people have ever let go to their heads. It's true for it's true for some people. That is true for some people. But that's pretty much the end of the slides, Dr. Nikki. We only have one person come up. Oh, go ahead.
We did. So let's talk about what's next because we're getting ready to hit the 2 hour and 30-minute mark. So the next thing that we will do is that LV and I will create an upload, and or either it'll probably be an upload, a short upload that kind of summarizes some of the things that we've talked about. We're going to go back through and take a closer look at the chat, and we're going to look at the polls and kind of sum up and analyze like what came out of today's discussion. And then if there are things that people want to talk about moving forward, we'll let y'all kind of sound off and let us know if you want to have another conversation. If not, this will kind of serve as a short experiment with the sector to kind of see where people are, what they think, what the attitudes are, to kind of take a temperature or a pulse, if you will. And it'll just be for reference for whoever may want to use this, however they might find it valuable. So again, I want to thank LV as well as everyone who showed up to have a conversation or to not have a conversation. And, just thank you all for, sharing your time with us and contributing to what moved from some ideas I had to an actual live stream.
And to chat lives matter. Sure. Like, I'm not sure if you're trolling or anything, but sure, I don't mind. Slander say you should do something like this every few months. I pretty much got to think about that play. I got way too much shit going on. But it turns out if we do, like, it just got to be way in advance though. But I do appreciate it though, Dr. Nikki, for you taking the time, for you trusting me to make this into a reality. And I think we had a lot to talk about. I think we kind of revealed a little bit, or if not a lot, of what some people in the sector are thinking about. So, but yeah, I pretty much did enjoy this. Do you have anything else?
No, as I said, just thank you. We're also evidence that an Aggie and an Eagle can work together, although, we are vehemently opposing enemies in the HBCU world. And we actually do have a classic named after the Aggies and the Eagles, the Battle of Highway 40. But other than that, I appreciate you. You proved that you did learn something there at that school you went to.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty much trying to keep it kayfabe. This is a build session, like I ain't gonna talk my shit.
That's not shit talking. That's a fact. I mean, Battle of 40. That's some serious stuff. And just like today, this is a serious build. So I appreciate that. Even in a build, we can still have some fun in it, and and still be serious about what it is that we're talking about. And I look forward to us having a conversation afterwards to kind of talk about our findings so that we can present them back to the sector, and either this will be a springboard for another conversation, or this is our one and done.
Right. I feel you, but I'm pretty much looking forward to the next step though, Dr. Nikki. And the chat last matter again, like I don't know if you trolling or not, like I'm in my build frame of mind, so I'm taking everything seriously. Yeah, sure. Like I don't care. Like I ain't that.
Well, that's because he's not going to talk shit about you. He's just going to analyze what I had to say.
Oh boy.
Have at it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is. But other than that, no, that's a wrap for me. And as I said, thank you much. I appreciate you.
All right. I appreciate it, Dr. Nikki. I'll see you later.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So that wraps up the build. Almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I appreciate y'all coming out. We will get back to our regularly scheduled programming again, 8/20 day. That is the tentative next live stream, unless I got to go live beforehand. But 8/20 day, August the 20th at 8:20 p.m. That ain't going to be no build show. That I'll tell you that. But I do have something planned for y'all on 8/20 day. I'm just trying to finalize some things. Hopefully I can start doing the trailer sometime in July to get y'all hyped up for 8/20 day. My goal for 8/20 day is to make it something special and kind of make it beyond what the original story behind 8/20 is. So that's just a little tidbit, just a little snippet of what I'm thinking about. But anyways, I appreciate y'all for coming out. Appreciate people in the chat for engaging. So there we go. Anyways, I appreciate y'all for coming out on a Saturday night. Again, 8/20 day, unless I got to go live again. And as always, I will check you guys later.